Hello. We are actually going to be talking today about how you are going to pay yourself from your biz. So far, we've already talked about why it's important to make sure that we're not kind of stuck in scarcity, we're not purposely underpaying ourselves, so that we have a benchmark for our business revenue that is going to help us with our sales goals and inform the rest of our business strategy. I then talked about how you are going to manage your money in business, and that is via my kind of the overflow formula, 3-account system that you can do in one bank account if you have spaces, and that is just your main bank account, a pot for tax, and an overflow account. In this episode, I'm going to be walking you through the exact steps that I take my clients through in order to have them pay themselves from their business. So if you're listening to this and you already pay yourself, this might be useful. You're probably still going to learn something or at least see a different way of doing things. And if you don't pay yourself currently, or you paying yourself in drips and drabs, you're just kind of transferring willy-nilly, then this is absolutely for you. Okay, let's get into it. So step 1 is you need to actually work out exactly how much you need to be paying yourself. So what you're going to want to do is do a financial audit. And that's because in order to create an accurate and realistic figure, it needs to be based on reality. So you need to go back through your old numbers. So typically what I have clients do is go back through 3 months worth of expenses. I'll say, let's do 6 months then. Pick some ordinary months. Then you're going to go back through and essentially categorize and add up all your spending. And yes, this is the big daddy task because, again, we need those realistic numbers. And you're going to want to do this for every account that you spend from personally. So if you're just spending from a personal account, this should be relatively easy. If you are someone that maybe also spends on a credit card, buys things via PayPal, maybe you also put some things on your business card, you're going to have more places to look. And going forwards, we need to really streamline that. So this is an activity I would say carve out a good hour or so in your calendar to be able to do. And, we do have things like AI now. So by all means, if you feel comfortable with that, then I have had clients in the past that have downloaded bank statements and kind of asked ChatGPT to do its maths. I will just say sometimes it does need a double check. I know that AI is always developing and always getting better, but there was an instance a little while ago where I was running some numbers through it. I was kind of helping it project launch revenue with me, and the numbers were just, I don't know what it was doing. The numbers were just off. If you have a paid account, you can choose, there are different models. You can choose O4 Mini High is great at coding and visual reasoning. I think because it's good at coding, it will be really good at numbers, especially the reasoning as well. O4 Mini, O3, like the advanced reasoning, because you can ask it to double check its work and it'll show you how it's doing that. If you really don't want to look at numbers, that is there for you. But I would always recommend going through yourself because it's a really eye-opening experience. I know people that have almost kind of like overhauled their financial habits simply from doing this activity alone because it makes you aware of where your money is actually going. So you're going to want to write out all of your bills, all of your necessary spending, so things like groceries, travel, fuel, prescriptions, medical costs, things like that. Do an average. Nothing needs to be perfect. We're basing it on averages, and that is okay because of how my money management methods, how my money systems work. You'll always have a buffer. You'll always have like wiggle room. So we'll just base it on averages, and also averages for joyful spending. When you're first doing this, categorize your joyful spending into different things like eating out, clothing, beauty, activities, kind of things like that. And it's all to do with that self-awareness. It's almost like a bit of a money mindset activity at the same time because you're having that awareness as to where your money is going, and you will have emotions that come along with that, right? You will be feeling a certain way about the way you're spending money. Just know that this activity is not for you to look back and berate how you've been spending. It's literally just so we have the legit numbers, like the realistic numbers, because There's no point you coming to me and being like, oh, I probably spend I want to spend, cut my spending back maybe to like £200-300 a month, but you've been spending like £1,000 a month. It's just not realistic. So that's step number 1. So work out exactly how much you're spending. Okay. That is your average monthly personal spending. That is what your owner's pay is going to be. What I would do, and this is where it becomes a bit of a balance, is if you can afford to, and this is where tracking your business finances is really important as well. And if you're thinking, Emily, oh my God, this is such a big task because I have to track all my personal finances and I have to track my business finances. I know that this is the hard bit. The hard bit is getting it all set up. And that is why I have my program Cashflow Confident. It's going to be relaunching at the end of July, and it's now kind of a 12-week sprint. And the first 8 weeks of that is me and you, as a group coming together and building out this money management system. So you have dedicated time to just get this shit sorted. And then the final 4 weeks are kind of like ironing out the kinks, support to actually implement the systems. So if you're listening to this episode and you're like, I want hand-holding with this, then Cashflow Confident is for you. I'll put the link in the description. Okay, so you've got your take-home pay. What you're going to do is we need to look at our business finances. And I spoke about this I'm sure I spoke about this in other episodes where I was talking about how you got your income, you got your expenses, and that gives you your profit. And then we want to be looking at what we're using our profit for. So essentially, we're going to be looking at our profit minus a percentage for tax. How much is left? If you have more than what your owner's pay is, so let's say, I like to call it overflow, which is essentially profit after tax. If you have overflow, let's say you've worked out your expenses are £2,000, like your personal pay needs to be around £2,000, and you have overflow of £2,500, great. Bada bing, bada boom. Like, sorted, move on. You've got £500 overflow every single month after your owner's pay, and that can be used to kind of just build a buffer. Cool. Let's say that your owner's pay is maybe more your overflow at the moment. This is good. It is a good thing, okay? Because this gives you a really clear benchmark. You can map that out in your cash flow tracker that you're going to set up in Cashflow Confident, and you can see what the gap is. You can see exactly how much more money you need to make. And then you can look at your sales system, look at your sales strategy, whatever you want to call it, and that you now know exactly how much money you need to make, and you can reverse engineer how to make that money. You can go out and make that money with a really clear goal of, this is how much money I need to make, because that's how much my owner's pay needs to be. And I do this all the time. I started paying myself £1,300 because that was like the bare necessities. Then I increased it to £1,500. And what I would do is I'd map it out in my cash flow tracker, see what the difference was and go, okay, cool, that's how much money I need to make. So that's how you can do that. But I know you're thinking, but Emily, if I needed to pay myself £2,000 and I don't have £2,000 in profit after tax, what do I do? I would say pay yourself what you can. And yes, it does mean that there's going to have to be some changes because you have based that £2,000 off of that financial audit you did. So that is telling you that you are spending on average £2,000 a month. Like, that is your personal spending. So if you don't have that in your business at the moment, that does mean that you are spending above your means. You're probably finding it really tight. You're probably struggling, but ultimately that is, and maybe that's why things feel so tight. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at your spending, and essentially you need to prioritize. Okay, you need to prioritize what are the necessities right now. So obviously your bills, necessary spending, and that is because I don't want you to restrict so far on your joyful spending that it almost becomes like the fuck it mentality of, you get into that scarcity because it doesn't feel like there's enough and you don't feel like you can do things that you want to do. It's just not very good for our brains to be in that, especially for a prolonged period of time. If it's maybe like the odd month or two, that can be all right, especially if you have kind of a plan in place to, maybe what you're going to do instead. You kind of think of low cost activities so that you're not feeling the pinch as much. But I think longer term, if you don't know when you're going to be able to increase your revenue, I would prioritize joyful spending, which I know is controversial. I would prioritize one savings pot, and that is something I call a breathing fund. And this is like honestly, to start with, 500, maybe £1,000 if you can, pot of money that is there for life's little curveballs. And I do mean life's little curveballs, or like when you forget it's someone's birthday, or your kid comes home from nursery and they've ruined all their clothes, you need to buy them new clothes. Maybe their kid's got a birthday party that they've been invited to last minute and now you have to buy a birthday present. I don't know, your microwave breaks, like little things like that just come up. You can't really help it. Maybe you run out of all your cleaning stuff all at the same time. You run out of all your beauty products all at the same time. These things happen and, life costs money. So sometimes, your life, and remember we were creating averages, right? So the breathing fund really is a non-negotiable because that is how your budget or your spending plan is allowed to flex. So that is what I would prioritize. But I would say if you can prioritize joyful spending, if you can also prioritize a breathing fund, or if you can kind of split the excess into those pots, that's going to really benefit you. So essentially there you have it. We're going to pick a payday. Now this is where it can get a bit complicated, especially if cash flow is quite tight. So what I would do is I would say, have a go. Especially if this is a new system, have a go, because it doesn't hurt to try it, right? So have a go where you literally wait as long as you can to pay yourself. Now, if you can try and pay yourself on the last or the first day of the month, this is going to be a lot easier for kind of cash flow tracking, pay myself from 2 months. You see what I mean? It's a whole thing. And girl, same, because when I recently did this, my payday was the 25th of the month, and that's because that was my payday when I was employed. And then I wanted to change it to the last day of the month, and I could not wrap my head around how much I needed to pay myself that first month, because I wasn't just paying myself a month. It was like a month and a week, and then all my bills came out that week, like 'cause I was moving my payday back a week. Oh my God. I literally had all my numbers and the dates they were coming out, and I just riffed with Chatty G. Me and Chatty G, we just riffed, and I was like, I'm gonna need some help, like, because I'm such a verbal processor. It's why podcasting is great for me. I need to be able to chat it out. So if you are someone like that, if you need to chat it out, have a conversation with Chatty. If you have a partner, if you have someone you can talk to, then do that. Calculators are there, spreadsheets. We live in a digital era. I'm sure you can figure it out. Also, I'm here. Like, if you want me to have some eyes on it, let me know. But obviously, this is something that we'll all be doing inside of Cashflow Confident anyway, and you'll have me on hand to kind of help you figure this out. If you're like, Emily, I physically cannot do that because money comes in and it needs to go back out straight away. I'm talking business finances here. So, you can't wait until the end of the month and hope that there's like £2,000-3,000 there. Like there isn't going to be, because money comes in, money goes out, and like I've got bills to pay. It's okay. You don't have to pay yourself monthly. I would say if you can pay yourself monthly, that's useful just for tracking purposes. And I think it can be beneficial from a personal money management point of view as well. But if you need to pay yourself weekly or fortnightly, you can. So I had a client who his cash flow is just really quite tight. The amount of money they need is pretty much all of their profit. So any money that was coming in, not only was it going back out to business expenses, but it needed to go back out for personal expenses as well. And bills were coming out all through the month. What we did was we mapped out when all her payments were due. So personal payments, all her bills, and then averages on like food and joyful spending and things like that, and maybe little bits of money. We essentially just created a weekly payment plan. So obviously some weeks she needed £1,000 because maybe her rent came out that week, but the next week she maybe only needed like £200-300. So that is how we were able to mitigate that. We now have put in place a sales plan for her so that she can grow her revenue. Now she knows kind of what her revenue needs to grow to. She can go away and create that plan, create the marketing strategy, all of that behind the scenes to be able to grow her cash flow so that it can grow in her account so that we can get to that month where she is able to pay herself in full at the end of the month. So yeah. That is paying yourself from your business. Work out what your personal expenses are. Work out what your business can afford. Choose a payday, choose a pay frequency, and transfer that money. And it's all about just keeping consistent with it. If you feel like it's difficult or hard, yeah, of course it is. You're learning a new skill. Like, that is okay. It is okay for things to be difficult. It is okay for things to be hard. I was talking to a client earlier today where she feels like she fell off the wagon and like the system's gone to pot and she's just kind of spending from here, there and everywhere. And I was like, that's all right. That's okay. Like, these things happen. Like, you're human. You're really overwhelmed. There's a lot going on in business and in life. And it's just one of those like other things you don't really want to have to be dealing with right now. It's like, that is fine. What you can do is just create a tiny little habit of checking in. Let's just start with that awareness. And all I'm having her do is opening up her bank account once a day. 5 minutes, just opening it up so that she just has that awareness of where her finances are. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. We can get back into the full flow, the full system when she has the mental space to deal with that. Right now, we're in survival mode financially, like in terms of there is so much other stuff going on that we just need to focus on. Do we have enough money? Yes. How can I make sure that I'm, not overspending so that things don't feel tight and things don't feel worse and things that feel more overwhelming, especially financially? Checking in, just daily check-ins, so that, again, not to shame ourselves, literally just to have awareness. Okay, well, this has been How to Pay Yourself from Your Business. I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions, you know where I am. If you want to learn to do this, then please come and join Cashflow Confident. Doors open on the 21st of July. The link to join the waitlist is going to be in the description. And in the next episode, I'm going to be talking about how you can pay off your business debt and how that actually starts with savings. Bye.